On the phone tonight. He's still not real well, still having issues, so.
Doctor's orders.
Doctor's orders, yeah. So we gotta go with what the doctor told us. So everybody else is here.
Just give him a call real quick.
Okay. Get him on the phone and we'll get going. See, that's my one.
Hello?
Hey Terry, Bill Carroll, are you still good to meet?
Yeah.
All right, you were on speakerphone.
Okay. Alan, will you lead us in
Pledge, join us at pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take a moment of silence. Amen.
Before we get started on some stuff, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have changed our air conditioning unit to where we have one now. We had some issues with the old one and these have been inserted, and that's what we were waiting on. Able to have the meetings back up here so we could have some air when needed. So that's the way we went with that.
Feels good.
Okay, does anybody need the minutes of the regular meeting or the closed session from last month read? Everybody good? Okay, Tim, if you'll state your name, and then so Terry will know.
Make sure you get a motion.
I guess I need all that stuff. Can I have a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion.
Getting ahead of the game. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, okay. All right, Tim, go ahead.
Tim Franklin, aye.
Alan Reed, aye.
Scott Coe, aye. Terry, you approve the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you guys. I'll slow down, get going here. Okay, we have no public comments as of right now, correct? Okay.
I got a fancy
Oh,
presentation.
we've moved that then. I like that. Okay, unfinished business, Drexel Heritage Property update. Is that, Mr.
Yep.
Alliance?
Yep, so I'm going to turn this over to the Alliance team. They have a presentation for the board and the public they'd like to make regarding if I can see my thing here, regarding the heritage site. I've asked them to come by. Awesome. You should be able to click this and it should advance wherever y'all want to be at.
Good evening. I'm DePaul Elliott-Tomby with Alliance Consulting Engineers. Please call me DePaul. Well, my colleague here is Adam Hogan. He's one of our vice presidents. And we appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Mayor and Alderman, to come and give you an update on the Drexel Industrial Site project. We know that some of you may be new to this whole project, so we're going to give you a complete rundown of what we have been doing. If something you need us to continue to move forward, please tell us. If you need us to repeat something, us engineers sometimes assume that everybody knows what three-letter acronyms are that we drop every now and then, and we try not to do that, but please stop us. I tend to talk fast, but I'm going to slow down a little bit here. But thank you again for the opportunity for us to come and meet with you today. So the site is about 100 acres. We have this image here because when we market this site eventually to folks around the world for foreign direct investment, as well as folks from around the country, we don't always want to assume people know where the county is, the town is, or in fact where the state of North Carolina is. A lot of folks from overseas, when we go to market sites, they may know New York, they may know Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and that's about it. But the toughest thing is to get them to this part of the country, and when they do come, they love it. So, I don't know if you can go with that.
You might have to hit the.
There you go. So again, And I'm going to use this image
Yeah.
to point, covering everybody. So this area is about 100 acres, the Norfolk Southern Railroad. Right here, we are sitting in this building right now, right here. So it's directly behind us. And the front part was the old Drexel mill site. And then the remaining property is essentially wooded and underbrush and so forth. So in a project like this, 40 years ago when I started in this business, that was when Amazon was a river and Apple was a fruit. It was different. You tell somebody to come and show you a piece of a cornfield, a wooded site, and they put a lot of trust and faith in you and came. Today, they select sites, consultants who companies select, as well as companies select sites on the internet. And they have a laundry list of items. They're very risk averse. They make sure that all of that is there, and if you don't have it, you're eliminated. You don't even know you have been eliminated. And there are several entities that help you with the marketing of the site. Certainly, Allen and Pope at the county level, the region, the state level, the electric co-ops, the power companies. Those are all arrows in your quiver. And our company, when we get a site under our portfolio, that's something we do as well, and we can show you some of those results. So if you go to the next slide, before we can locate a facility like this there, we have to do all of these due diligence studies. This is kind of the health and well-being of a site, just like you go and get a physical to know the health and well-being of yourself. So here's what has been completed. Some of it's kind of self-explanatory, and some I'm going to tell you a little bit of details on, but please stop me if I'm going too fast. The first is a boundary survey. That's knowing the metes and bounds of the property. Make sure that's clear, there's not an issue with it. A topographic survey to know the relief on the site. Obviously, we are in a part of the state that you're going to have some topography. Nothing wrong with that. We like that. Then what's called a phase 1 environmental assessment. That's to find out if there is any contamination on the site. We already know the Drexel industrial site is a brownfield site, meaning it was a mill site before. It has some cleanup going on. It has been done and is going on. So that's all documented in what's called brownfield assistance. Then preliminary geotechnical exploration. That's to know what the ground is, meaning the bearing capacity for the loading of equipment, the depth of groundwater, depth of rock. All of that is important as you're constructing a facility. That's an expense associated with sites that may have be blasted, may have bad soils and so forth. We also added what's called a seismic refraction survey. That's a tongue twister. What that does is tell contractors who are bidding on this in the future where the rock would be. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it gets you a little bit further in. Wetlands delineation and the agencies that oversee that, the United States Army Corps of Engineers, we have to get their concurrence on that, and so wetlands delineation, and we'll show you a map that shows that. Threatened and endangered species review, if there's any federal funding involved, and also nowadays with any federal permits, and that could be an air permit or crossing of a stream, it requires all these threatened and endangered species, a cultural resources review be completed. And we'll get into a few details on that. The last thing on that list was the traffic impact study to understand at what point improvements to the roadway network may need to be done. A couple things that have not been completed is a combination plat. When we show you the parcels that are part of this site, it'll make a lot more sense. And then build separately, the town's working on a brownfield agreement with the Council of Governments. We're sort of in the periphery of that, so if there's a detailed question on that, we may defer to Bill and the Council of Governments. And then what's been going on is the engineering, design, and construction drawings. There's two things going on, one for the demolition plan for the brownfield site, and then the mass grading of the remaining portion so we can show it to a prospect. And when I say prospect, it's a consultant or an actual industry, that EDPNC, that's the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, that's the marketing arm in Raleigh that markets sites around the state, show that they can come and see this site, whether it's virtual, we can set that up with some drone video and so forth. And then as part of that mass grading, we have to relocate a water line that's on Reed Street. That's an existing water line, but we can't build on top of it. And so we have to relocate a section of that as well. That's kind of in a nutshell. Now we'll go into some details on that. Any questions so far? Great. Fantastic. So this is when I said boundary and topographic survey. The outside, I believe it's going to be tough to see at this scale. That's the boundary of the site. Those lines in the middle, those are what's called a topographic survey. As the lines get closer, there's a lot more topographic relief. And it's a typical site in this part of the state. Whoops. All right. So this is the area of the Drexel Mill that's now being cleaned up. Okay, go to the next one. So phase 1 environmental assessment, what's called a recognized environmental condition from property from previous furniture manufacturer, so forth, included some underground storage tanks. So understanding what that is was done, and it's been documented. So the brownfield assistant, Adam, you want to take this one?
Sure. So again, on that abandoned site there, we've got some underground storage tanks. There's also some asbestos material buried there. And so we've worked together with the brownfield team, with the COG, and also the North Carolina DEQ Office of Department of Environmental Quality to come up with a demolition plan where a lot of the asphalt and concrete on the site will be demolished, ground up, either hauled off or given to the city for use in their future projects. And again, just making sure that they're clear with the mitigation, whether it's filling on top of the asbestos barrel area versus cutting and potentially exposing it, that we're kind of meeting all requirements of that mitigation plan.
Thanks.
Are the barrels gonna have to come out? Or dug up, or is that something?
Yeah, I believe so. That'll be in the scope of the demolition plan for the contractors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the geotechnical exploration is when we go and punch holes in the ground, and these are the locations of where holes were punched, and we're going to show you a cross section of that, kind of along those long lines. Again, that's a railroad at the bottom there, and you can see how the ground, the relief, and that's where the geotechnical borings were done. And then that engineering technical data is available for a consultant or the engineering team to look at, to see what kind of bearing capacity the soil has, the depth of groundwater, the depth of bedrock, all of the information that a company would need to understand the cost of grading a site and building on it.
For the geotech report, is there any rock was expected, or did you encounter it?
Yes, sir. We can show you that in just a slide.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, great question. If I don't cover it for some reason,
Understood.
throw something at me. All right, seismic refraction survey was done. These are the locations of those 3 borings, and I think we're about to see that. So, Adam, you want to cover this?
Yeah, so just to explain this seismic refraction survey, what you're seeing there is that the areas in orange, or specifically red, are where you're getting down into the rock. So the blue and green are mostly soils that can easily be mass graded. And again, between the seismic refraction survey and the geotechnical report, that'll classify those areas of orange and red and the rock there and the condition of it, whether it's partially weathered rock or just rock, so that a contractor would know what it would take in terms of equipment or blasting in terms of equipment.
Understood.
One of the things we'll show you when we did the grading plan, so there were 2 constraints. One is, well, 3. One is we didn't want to bring material in and haul excess material out, because that's an expensive end of it. We have to do that sometimes. You'll see on the highway people in dump trucks. That's expensive, so you try to balance the site, moving dirt around. Second is the rail line. So unlike a roadway that can snake around, rail has some very critical horizontal curvature and vertical curvature, 2% max on the vertical, horizontal a little bit more. So that had to be taken into consideration because this is a rail served site. We don't necessarily know if we'll have a rail user, but it's one of the premier rail sites in the state. Norfolk Southern is very bullish on this. I spoke to their folks in Raleigh as well as Atlanta, headquartered now in Atlanta, used to be in Norfolk, Virginia. And they're very bullish on this site. So they don't want to give up a good rail site because those are hard to come by these days. Just like an interstate frontage property, there's not a whole lot being made these days. But the other thing was the pad itself, so the curvature from the railroad and the bedrock as well. So when we show you the grading plan, you'll see that we're doing the grading without getting into the bedrock itself, because that's an expensive venture.
Okay. Do you know, not to put you on the spot, but do you know how many total boring logs showed rock or was terminated due to granite or bedrock?
So
Yes.
I think there were a couple, and again, they were the ones that were kind of, I guess you can see here, kind of in the middle, so that they're, they're getting down into the, without being down at the low spots near the streams. Obviously, these areas here in the high points were almost too high to find rock as deep as they went. So you're looking here at auto refusal. I think that's 32 feet, 27 feet here. So
That's a long
Yeah, it's
distance.
plenty. You're
Yes,
doing
sir.
great.
And if you're interested in, Bill has that report. Bill, if you can't put your hands on it, we'll get that. There's everything on here.
Appreciate
Alan
it.
and Hope has it, and Bill has it, but we've got it at our fingertips. Literally, I'll have it on my hip.
Yeah, it's good. It's deep enough.
But great question.
Thank you.
And you'll see that when we show you the grading plan, so it might start to make a little sense. So wetlands, this is of course a very important thing to protect the environment, but also be able to work with it. And we're fortunate that this site, the wetlands are on the periphery. Expected some along the creek there, and then on the very bottom there's nothing that bisects the site. Well, a lot of times we have to deal with sites that do that, and then you have to go through a mitigation plan, and it's kind of the chicken or the egg. You have to have a bird in hand to request that, then it takes a year to get that, and people don't want to wait a year, so they go find another site. So it's a strange situation there. But that's kind of the wetlands, and then the threatened and endangered species. Adam, you want to touch upon this and the bat?
yeah, so it was shown here. There's no effect on listed threatened and endangered species, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service also is constantly adding species to this list. So there was a tricolored bat that was going to be likely uplisted to the threatened and endangered list this year. And basically that requires that clearing can only be done during certain periods, I believe October to March. So what we were able to do this winter is get the trees on the site taken down so that whenever we're ready to grade, not being able to take down trees wouldn't stop us from starting construction. And then on
Don't want to get into the tricolored bat, but it's not officially on the list yet. Federal government is working on that, but at the same time, we want to go ahead and get this project moving as well. So they're conscious about that.
So the Cultural Resources Survey is just looking at historical properties in and around the site and their potential impacts on those from the project. Again, the only one on site is the actual Drexel plant, which has been abandoned, so that's not an issue. Again, it says here the nearest offsite were some houses that were 150 feet to the north, so those aren't an issue either. And the State Historic Preservation Office responded in writing last summer that everything had been reviewed and they were in concurrence with the findings.
And that's an important thing for all of these studies. We have the different agencies that are in charge of that tell us the status. Traffic impact study, go ahead.
Sure. So after all the preliminary due diligence had been completed, as part of our latest scope of services, we did a detailed traffic impact assessment based on our conceptual plan for the site. So we engaged a traffic engineer to look at the potential number of employees and vehicle trips from a potential industry on the site. And as you can see here, they looked at several intersections. One was at the entrance to the site at Reed Street and Main Street. The other was was at Main Street and Oakland Avenue, and the third was at Main Street and US Highway 70 intersection. And basically the recommendations were to put potential turn lanes into the site, so a left turn lane on Main Street into the site and a right turn lane into the site. Obviously the driveway, Reed Street coming out onto Main Street would have turn lanes. They suggested monitoring traffic at Main Street in Oakland for potential traffic signal, but that was not necessarily a requirement of the report. And then the last one was a potential mini roundabout conversion of the intersection, which is currently signaled at Main Street and US Highway 70. And we're just highlighting discussions with the DOT, and they provided a letter that essentially none of these are required improvements as part of this mass grading. So there are no off-site traffic requirements that are required until a company comes and says, we're actually bringing this many jobs and this many employees. So this kind of gives any company looking at the site a good idea of what's our number of employees versus what the report projected. And again, we can update and revise that report for any given industry to kind of fine tune what those off-site improvements might be.
I'm not a fan of roundabouts. I'd soon do without them, to be honest.
Yes, sir. I'm with you there. Okay, so this is kind of the conceptual plan that shows roughly 260,000 square feet of space in the front here, and then almost just over 3/4 of a million square feet that can be accommodated here without impacting any wetlands and so forth. Again, it preserves the environment, and we can accommodate a sizable project with rail access and good truck access and roadway access, and that would be awesome to be able to do that. Our recommendation is to do a project like this. If a prospect comes and they want 2 buildings or half the size, and the prospect is making a capital investment and creating great jobs, and the town and the county want to take that option and only do half of it, then it can be done that way as well. But to plan it and mass grade it as one is probably the best way to do it, so you give yourself flexibility for the future. It puts you also kind of in a very small club with rail access and a 750,000 square foot pad. There's not too many of those around. Go ahead.
Sure, so this is the demolition plan, and again, we developed this demolition plan in coordination with the North Carolina DEQ Brownfields office and the COG, Council of Governments. So this shows the front part of the site that was previously developed, and you can see most of the hatches there. Again, the concrete building pads and walls, the asphalt parking, all that's going to be ground up and milled and disposed of off-site. And again, we've got a series of existing conditions and demos notes and keynotes there, and it'll also be detailed in the bid documents as to the contractor's exact scope of work. This has been submitted to the North Carolina DEQ Brownfields office. They did some testing, sampling out on site last week, and should be finalizing their environmental management plan this week. So again, we should have all that approved and ready to move forward when we're ready to get into construction.
The walls that's still up, that's gonna come down, it's got asbestos in them.
Yep.
That's a fact.
Yep.
Is that something we will be able to do very on site, or will we have to take it off, or is that something we need to look
I
into?
believe the scope right now calls for it to be hauled off site. Again, there's some existing asbestos buried on site, and they're
Yeah.
allowing us to leave that as remaining as long as, again, we're continuing to fill on top of that, not expose any other. Yeah, right now that would be.
But there's not that much left of the,
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, asbestos is, when it's airborne is when it's
Yeah,
kind of a
right.
problem. So if it's already buried in the ground,
Yeah.
it's not
I'm just
inspected.
contained about the walls and stuff that I know. And there's
Right.
not, that's not a whole lot left on.
So the walls along the highway, we're not touching because it's holding up the highway.
Okay.
And that's a project by itself that will cost millions of dollars that I'm not sure we want to get into right now.
I think Roger and we're gonna take care of the asphalt once we get it took care of.
Yeah, the plan is for us to hopefully reuse some of the asphalt.
We
That's
reuse
right.
the asphalt.
That's
Roger
right.
will take care of that. Since we're on the railroad part, the railroad is they're interested in 2, maybe 3 spurs coming in there. Do you know anything on that?
It all would depend on the end user, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so typically, they this is a straight shot. Good thing is, it's a straight line right there. It's not on a curve or something like that.
Right.
And we can actually look at both directions, so depending on the end user. Sometimes the track master, as they call them, say you gotta come in this way. But the trains can come in both directions here, and they'll stop and then push or pull in as needed. So there's enough room and right of way for more than one.
So it's a good possibility that you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It all depends on Norfolk Southern is an investor-owned utility, and so they don't build speculative rail turnouts. It's all needed based on the end user's need.
Okay.
So they look at how many cars a week, etc. On unit trains, they call them unit trains, and how many unit trains, etc. And then they say you need this many turnouts and so forth.
Yeah, and it depends on what kind of industry goes in there to start.
Exactly, yes, sir. Our biggest thing we have to make sure is that the pad is being graded at an elevation to be able to accommodate the rail coming in.
Right.
Because we can't do that later. If you say, well, we're not interested in rail right now, and we have a great prospect that needs a rail site to come, well, anything can be done with enough time and money, and that's not the case. Yeah. Okay.
So after the demolition is complete, this is kind of the mass grading plan showing the eastern portion of the site. You can see there that the hatched in gray is Reed Street. So Reed Street's going to kind of become a one-way access for this site. The first, I can't remember, 100, 200 feet of Reed Street will probably need to remain public. You can see kind of the triangle piece of property there behind the property that fronts Main Street. That's their access. So we need to maintain public access to that property. But kind of once we get past that property, there will be a cul-de-sac there in the future. Again, for any public vehicles that need to turn around, because after that, there could be a security gate for a future industry. And right now, again, we've shown that road running all the way to the back portion of the site. So again, a prospect that wanted to come visit the site could drive along that drive, a finished drive, and basically get to the start of that mass grading pad and look out over the entire site. The second view right here is the back part of the site. You'll notice if you follow the topo, the kind of triangle here to the top is your pond. So all your storm water is going to drain to that pond and out to the stream to the east. Kind of that circle there in the middle is the fill dirt that's being kept on site for the time being. So like DePaul said, we like to try to balance the site so that we don't have contractors spending money to haul dirt off. So for now, we're going to leave that dirt there. When a company comes in and has a final layout, we'll be able to determine with that company whether that dirt can stay or whether it needs to go. There's a possibility there on the edges of the site that a company, if they needed to for the space, could construct retaining walls. And that dirt could be used to fill behind the retaining walls and maximize the site, or they could decide that the pad as it is big enough and haul that dirt off. So again, until we know who's going to go there and what their exact layout looks like, what elevations they need things at for their process, we're just going to leave that dirt on site because that's the cheapest thing to do for them.
The key is flexibility, providing a site that has easy access to the interstate. The Amazon rule is 5 minutes from interstate. And rail site, and good water, wastewater, and electricity, and of course, good workforce.
So we discussed this last fall, I believe, when we were here, that Reed Street is a town-maintained street and that it would need to be closed because, again, industries in the future are not going to want to deal with a public road bisecting their property. As you can see there, it definitely runs through the middle of that back portion there. And most of that area will be cut and some of it filled. So again, there's just, in terms of maximizing the pad on the site, and there's the need to close that road. So again, the red part, like I said, it starts about 200 feet back from Main Street. That's where we'll need to start the abandonment, and then it'll go all the way up to the other end of Butler Hill Road. And the green route there shows people down at Butler Hill Road, the route they would have to travel to get back to. Main Street, I think we figured at 35 miles per hour, it's just adding a minute or two to their drive time. These exhibits here show a little bit of a close-up of that. So again, one other thing we had to do with Reed Street is the asphalt or concrete as it stands right now is kind of right up against the property line. So we're going to shift Reed Street away. The neighbor there, Mr. Bright's property, he's got some landscaping there right along Reed Street if you're familiar with it. So again, we don't want to touch that on his property at all. So the intent is to shift that road slightly to the south and kind of have that out of his way and completely on the property.
And the roadway will be constructed to industrial standards.
Correct. And again,
This is what it looks like
picture,
now,
so
right?
we'll be able to not touch his landscaping there, and the road will be shifted, and there will probably be a slight grassed vegetative island there to the right to kind of provide that buffer to his property. This is the back end by Butler Hill Road. There's currently a driveway that ties in along the Reed Street, and I'll show it to you here. So again, we've got Dean Road to the right, Butler Hill Road back into the screen, and Reed Street going into the site to the south. And you can see there's a common driveway that serves two properties back there. It's a gravel driveway, so the grading there again, right past this image on Reed Street is where the pond is, so there'll be a lot of cut and drop off, so we'll put a guardrail there, kind of keep that turn into that common driveway intact. Any questions about the Reed Street closure?
Terry, you got anything?
No, I don't believe so. Thank you.
So again, we completed design, we submitted for permits in late May and early June. Have gotten feedback from North Carolina DEQ on the erosion control and land disturbance, as well as from DOT on the roadway encroachment. We're still waiting for review comments for DEQ to the water main and the wastewater line. But we've addressed comments and are resubmitted today actually for the permit on the land disturbance and erosion control. So we expect to have that by the time we get out for bids here. So when we were here last, we kind of shared a projected project schedule that included that remaining due diligence, the traffic study, the seismic refraction, our design and permitting. Right here is the remaining project schedule with bidding and award. So typically with these projects that have grant funds involved, which this one does, we have to be out to bid for at least 30 days.
And then the agencies that are providing funding in this case, there's a federal agency, so you've got to get their concurrence, and that's why we allow another 30 days to get that started. Sometimes it takes longer, but 30 days is kind of the average. And then we start construction, and we think it'll take about 300 good weather days. So outlining a schedule, this is kind of where we are right now. Permitting is almost finished, about to go to bidding and award, and then the construction. So hopefully when we complete it, you'll have building pads like this where somebody can locate and create jobs, and it'll be exciting to see.
How soon will we see some movements for tearing it up? How soon? I know we have to have bids and stuff on that.
Probably this fall.
Would it be
I
possible?
would
Would
say,
there be something possibly by the end of the year?
yes, that's the intent is probably in late October, early November.
Okay.
Because we're essentially 1 week into August right now,
Right.
and go to bid with the concurrence from the COG and the town.
Have we got bids out? Have we got bids out?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We wanted to be at a certain point in the permitting to understand permitting agencies' concerns. Otherwise, when you go out for bid and permitting agencies change things, then
Right.
you have change orders, which we're trying to minimize. But we're at a point with our resubmission to those agencies, unless they come back with some totally new things, which we hope they don't. We can go out to bid right now, and we hope they will
Okay.
approve the permits in the next 2 weeks, so we'll still have a chance going out for bid. We should receive bids sometime in September, and that'll give us time to review the bids, get concurrence from those agencies, and start construction end of October, hopefully.
Okay, sounds great.
That's
Guys
our
have
plan.
anything? Guys have anything?
I think that's good. Yeah, I do too.
But one of the things that we have done here is, of course, get this on the radar screen of the Economic Development Partnership folks in Raleigh. They were very successful last year, had close to $15 billion in capital investment in the state. I will personally be with them on Thursday, so it's rubbing shoulders and elbows and telling them keep this on top of mind. It's important. And Alan and Hope do a great job with that too. See them doing that all the time.
All right, sounds good. Guys have anything else?
I got a few questions.
Go
Sure,
ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
Did I
Go for
cover
it.
your initial question adequately?
Existing infrastructure road, the existing DOT roads, is it in the RFP for if they damage it during construction that is it under their scope is that they have to repair those roads, or is that like a change order or in addition to?
So the condition of the existing roads, you're talking about the outside the property,
Yes, essentially, yeah.
right? Normally that's handled by the DOT, right?
Yeah, I mean, typically, anytime a contractor is doing work, they're responsible for the site itself, and they're
Yeah.
also responsible for any damage off-site. So the intent is to kind of leave things in improved condition or better, or
Okay.
the same condition or better. So yeah, any damage off-site to the roadways, we would certainly be reporting that in our weekly reports that we'll be doing pre-construction and addressing that with the contractor to make sure he takes care of it at no cost.
That brings a good point. Local partner on this project is West Consultants, local here in the county, and then ECS out of Asheville will be doing the construction materials testing for the grading work and so forth. They'll be here as long as the contractor is grading. And we'll be out here at least once a week, sometimes more than that. We're documenting, going through a DEQ program, and we'll have drone footage for you that Bill will have on a portal that y'all can literally on your phone or computer and click and see what's going on that week.
Awesome. Okay.
There won't be a live video, so to speak,
Right.
but we can also do that, but that is an expense that we don't think is needed.
Understood. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
For the tricolor bat for the endangered species, you guys have built the schedule around. I just want to confirm you guys have built the schedule around it to where we're not going to be. There's basically that window we get to grade.
Right. We start construction in October. We're good. We
Okay.
can't do that right now.
Is there any kind of like scope or stipulation in the documents? Because this is all the federal level, which I'm ignorant to at this point. But if there is a nest found, does it stop construction, or what happens then, just from a general knowledge standpoint?
We haven't seen any yet.
Okay.
So as when we did the study, none were found. There's potential for it.
Right.
And the bat's not even on the list yet.
Okay.
It's they're going through the federal process to try to get it added to the list. That's wheels of that. It turn very slowly.
Gotcha. Understood. All right. And you said you are avoiding the two existing wetlands. We are avoiding those completely.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Here's wetlands right here. Right here. We're avoiding that.
Perfect.
And that's actually what you see kind of hatched. That's a buffer.
Okay.
What color is this? Blue. Blue is the actual stream or wetland, and the green you see right there.
Perfect.
So there's actually a buffer. That area that you see hatched is a 50-foot buffer.
Okay. Is there any kind of landscape buffer included there, or is this just regular vegetation seed?
Regular vegetation.
Okay, perfect.
But if you think we need to include landscaping, just
We can talk.
be glad to. It just costs money.
And the last one I have, sorry about the questions.
No,
but,
we love
the
that.
last one I have, is there any topsoil stockpile requirements for this project, if any at all? I know you said we're gonna stockpile a lot of the cut that we're gonna be doing, because there's a lot more cut than fill. But when it comes to this topsoil, is there any requirements for stockpiling the topsoil in a different location or anything like that?
What they usually do in a project like this, they strip the topsoil,
Mhm.
pile it up.
Yeah.
And then the areas that are not going to be structural fill, you know, the buffers and landscaping where they got to get grass to grow for stabilizing the site, which is the end product here. From a contractor standpoint, they spread that topsoil in order to get the grass to grow.
Okay, so you're respreading it, and that's
Yes,
gonna be included in
not the
RFP.
whole pad, or so
Right.
to speak, because you don't want that on the top of the pad in
Right,
its entirety.
but that is included in the RFP?
Yes, in the bids, which are the bids, yes, sir.
All right, that's what I've got so far, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you,
Love
Tim.
that question.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
And Bill knows how to get a hold of us, so we'll be glad to come and speak to you one-on-one as needed.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I will say Alliance has been a great partner. They've been very informative. We've been having regular meetings. They keep us up to date on everything going on and make sure I sign the right lines and date the right dates. Which, speaking of which, Ben, I don't know if you wanted to give maybe a quick update on the grants and some of the work that's been going on.
The Western Piedmont Council of Governments has written several grants for this property that date back
Thank you.
5-6+ years. Millions of dollars that we've written, and then we've of course had the delays of COVID and everything else that has pushed it. So when you write these grants, you typically have timelines and to spend the money. And so we have pushed money and said, no, we wait, push. We ran into one of those issues with one of the grants, but we're able to get permission, and so we didn't have to give back a little bit, almost $330,000. So this is what we kind of do on our end, is try to work with these agencies at the state and federal levels to be able to say, well, hey, look, what if we do this and this and this? We got permission, and Mr. Carroll, hopefully. Signed and dated, and we didn't cross out anything, and made sure we had the 3 in the right place. And it's been crazy, but I think we've got it. And so all those funds will be expended by the required times. We don't have to get any money back. So we were kind of stressed on that a little bit, but I'm not stressed anymore. So, and everybody's good. Everybody wants to see this money spent, because this project is, because completely transform this community and the
Yeah,
town.
it's the life of the community, so it's got, something got to be done.
It's gonna be, and it's great to see this project finally getting some legs and starting to take some traction and starting to see some movement. So it's fantastic. So yeah, we're continuing to monitor the grants, and we'll continue to seek any other funding opportunities that are available as the project progresses forward. And that's what we're here to do. And got a great team of individuals who've been working on this for years. We've lost Erin Shoddy, who was a very big part of this grant and some of these initial grants. She had a child that is, you text her and she'll answer right back. And we've got new team members on board who are familiar with the project and are getting there. So we're excited. This is one of the most exciting projects we have in the region, we feel, at the COG. And Bill's been great to work with. Alliance has been great, and so we'll continue to help any way we can. Any questions?
Guys got anything? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
And before we move on, Mayor, I was going to give Hope. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to this discussion.
Not necessarily, but I will say having all this information together makes Alan and my job a whole lot easier. Of course, these are all the boxes that consultants and companies want checked. And so having this done continues to move us along in a project that we have submitted for. So Al and I are both excited to see this project continue to move forward, and we're very excited to continue marketing it.
so you're with BDI?
I am.
Okay, so we do have some interest in the site?
We do.
Okay.
We've seen a little bit of a slowdown in requests for information, but when we have, it being a real site is another good value, which we're able to submit it for.
Yeah. Once we get more development, get more done to it, it'll be more interesting.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We're good.
Yep. We'll just move on to
Okay, electricities and power supply update.
Yeah, so this is a real brief update, but I met with the Economic Development Director of Electric Cities, which is also a partner on this project. And they really were trying to solve the power concerns that we have on the site. Other utilities are fine. We need a lot of these users nowadays have huge demands when it comes to power and megawatts. So I just want to give an update that we are working on that with some Electric Cities is paying a consultant to look into some solutions both on our side of the grid, but also on the entire Electric City side, and what Duke Energy needs to do to get this site ready for a big power user. But just want to give that update because it is an important development, and we're working on that side by side while we're working on grading and getting the site ready with our other utilities.
Okay.
That's it.
B is Charlotte Water Interbase Transfer Discussion. I'm gonna start this off. Mr. Carroll, Alderman Cole, and Alderman Franklin, and Alderman Carroll Cole's wife, we all attended the open house at the Comma on July 15th. As you know, we have already done a resolution to combine with Morganton, Valdez, with the rest of the municipalities to fight this, to keep them from taking. They already take $33 million or 33 million gallons a day from Catawba River. Now they want to take 30 more million gallons a day for a total of 63 million gallons in one day out of the Catawba River. When I went to this meeting, I was still in, I am a total no. Whatever we're going to do, we can fight it. But I am totally against this, and they did not convince me none whatsoever with all their presentation and stuff to change my mind on nothing. They more or less, to me, they come in and said, they didn't ask us if they could do this. They more or less come in and said, this is what we're going to do. Now, this process won't take until 2028, is that right?
Yeah,
so it's a long process, and they're just in the first phase, this first phase of the process. But as long as I'm mayor, and I'm sure these guys on the board also, we're going to fight this. I had questions I thought about asking them while they were there. They had a question and comment period at the end of it, which was a bunch of baloney in my book. Because what they'd done, people would go up and make comments or questions, and all they would do was say, can you write them down, or can you get them in an email and send them to us on our website, and then we will answer them. So basically, they didn't answer nothing that people had there, very few little comments. My idea, or my questions was, they've got Lake Norman, they've got Lake Wiley, they've got the PD River, they've got quite a few rivers down there. Are they taking water out of them? And why can they not take the water from them instead of from the Catawba River? They got rivers right there close enough to them that they ought to be able to take the water out of them and leave us alone up here, because we've had some droughts and we've had some water. The Catawba River has been low before, so we are fighting it. We're total. I mean, it's not just Burke County. I think it's Catawba, Colorado,
entire COG,
and
McDowell County.
Yeah, and McDowell County. And so, yes.
I just want to, can't agree with you more. The COG is being very proactive in working with the entire region.
Yeah.
If there's one issue that I think the whole region can agree on, it's this one.
Right, I agree.
So
I agree.
The COG is working diligently. We're working and getting lobbyists to speak on our behalf. We're talking about doing everything that you're talking about, Mr. Mayor. And doing it in a methodical and making sure everybody's on the same page, making sure we have our attorneys and our lobbyists and everybody on the same page.
Right.
And doing our own environmental studies to match what they're doing to make sure that this is handled correctly and that we keep our region's interests in mind.
Right. I know, talking to Ronnie Thompson, the mayor of Morganton, and Charlie Watts, the mayor of Valdez, and Yates Jensen, the mayor of Rufford College, and I haven't got with the Connie Springs people or Glen Alpin people yet, but we're all on the same page. They need to leave our water alone, and we're going to make sure they do, or at least we're going to fight to make sure they do. So that's kind of what I had to say. Tim or Scott, you got anything you want to say about the meeting?
I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Mayor here. The process that they did, I fully understood as a Q&A process. There was no answers given, and the first thing that they said at the beginning of the meeting, we're not asking you for permission. It was on their PowerPoint, we're just here to inform you this is what's going to happen. And that infuriated the public, including myself. It's astonishing to me that someone in Raleigh has the power and to make a decision at this level without consulting the public. But that's the policy that's currently in place. And so learning a tremendous more about it. Again, I'm learning, I'm very new to this, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are in this process. But I think the entire community, like you're saying, and Mr. Mayor, we wholeheartedly stand behind you. And speaking with that is that totally against this, and that I'm really, really interested to see how this plays out in the next few years.
I know you had a question about alternatives, what alternatives, and from my understanding that from the meeting we had, just COG meeting we had just here recently, it was brought up that the alternatives, they don't have to present them till second phase, is that correct?
Yeah.
So that's, why not the first phase, so we'll know something, but.
And that's what ultimately a lot of the questions were, what alternatives do we have with this policy, right? And they would not present or provide anything like that. So it's just going to infuriate the public even more. So I don't, their strategy is terrible in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. But no alternative. That was my question. I just didn't even ask it because they were just going to ask me to send in an email, and they'll get back with me in whatever time frame. So.
Well, their whole process was backwards. They had not done, to me, they should have done the study first to see what effect it would have on this region. That's in the later phases of it. That should have been done up front. When you start sucking that much water out of the river, what's it going to do to everything around here? But that's in the final stages of it. So I thought it was backwards. They gave no information. It was a stand on your soapbox and this is what we're going to do. And like everybody said, they gave no answers. Very uninformative, I thought.
Yeah.
They want to take that water from us, but they don't want to give none back. They don't want to give us any of it back for anything whatsoever. They want our water, but they don't want to help us otherwise. So, you got anything, sir? Go ahead.
Well, on that note, as Ben actually alluded to, so we have a preliminary interbasin transfer budget. So the Western Piedmont Council of Governments is taking the lead on this. Because they're a lot larger than we are, and they have a lot more resources and staff they can lean on to help with this process. So tonight you have in front of you an interbasin transfer budget estimate and what that would cost us. And actually it lays out every county and town in the region and what their shared costs would be. And the shared cost is based on the size of the water and sewer budget, as well as a portion of the population. So they kind of came up with a algorithm there that comes out to that total cost. It's split into 2 years currently. Of course, this is preliminary. It could be higher, it could be lower, based on what may happen. But I think for the public's information, the cost to the town of Drexel for both years would only be $2,035.06. And I think it would be, we certainly need to be a partner in this, and I think I would recommend the board allow me to enter into that agreement with the COG, and whenever they start invoicing those, that I would start paying that cost over the course of the next 2 years. And of course, if it were to go over that for any reason, then we would of course come back and talk about whether we want to continue.
Is this a budget amendment we'd have to do?
It would be a budget amendment. Currently, we have it in the budget to fit it in as a professional service. So I think we'll be fine there. But if it does get to a cost level that we need to do that, then we'll bring it back to the board, of course.
I know Morganton, Valdez, and Rufford College had meetings last night, and they all, from my understanding, they all approved to do this. So I guess we're next in line. So do I have a motion to accept?
I make that motion.
Scott, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Scott, will you start us off and say your name?
Scott Coe, aye.
Ellen Reed, aye.
Terry?
Harry, aye.
Tim Franklin, aye.
All right, thank you, guys. You do.
And there is Charlotte Water does have a website. You can Google Charlotte IBT and it pops up. They have to have a website, and they do have more information if anybody's interested in researching this issue, or reach out to the COG as well because they've got information.
Okay. New business. presentation on Drexel Fair upgrades and planning. Mr. Deal, can you come up to the podium, please, sir? Let me say, as he's making his way up here, they have made some fantastic improvements over just the last 2 years. Last year was the electrical, all the electrical stuff, is that right, Don?
Yes.
And then this year, if you haven't seen it, the barn is taking a whole new look, a whole new process. So, Don, go right ahead.
All righty. First of all, I had every intent to be at the July meeting, and I think I called Mr. Bill, and he said, well, that was the week before because I didn't realize that it had been postponed. So I apologize for that. The thing that we've done down there or going on and hopefully can finish soon, it's been started for a long time. I mean, in reality, probably close to 8 or 9 years, we had been putting a little money back, and over the years, the state had given some grant money or just give a couple $1,000 depending on the size of the fair. So we always wanted to do some things to our barn to cover the arena was the main thing. So we kind of slide that to the side, and some of these monies that we got, you couldn't use them for anything but certain projects, and I'm on the board in North Carolina State, and so I could talk to them directly, and they said, well, if you're planning on doing it, you can move that. It's so we were good there. It wasn't like somebody's gonna come and say, well, we're gonna see what you've done. So what I'm saying is it took a long time. This has been a long thing in the works, and so I spoke with Representative Blackwell, and I told him what our need was, and the need that was, if you cover your arena for shows, have those shows, you can get on a certain circuit that will allow you to put on these animal shows. They won't do anything with the arena that's not covered because of the weather. And so that was a target we were wanting to hit. And then the other thing was the barn had not been, I think it was built in the late 70s. And, other than just a little bit here and a little bit there, there's been nothing else done to it. And so this past and all this coming in at the same time really worked well, because last summer, the fair, we had some animals that was on the verge of being over, and just got too hot. And we can't have that. That's something we couldn't have. So Representative Blackwell told me, he said everything's looking good, and this was probably right after the fair. I said, okay, so. And then at the first of the year, he said, the money's gonna get your money. But I said, okay, now we started the wheels turning and getting people kind of some ideas of what we're headed for. But I'm just, I said I'm in sales until that cash is in the bank or in the drawer. You ain't really made that sale yet. So we got the money. The money went to the county, which was a procedure that through the state, which was all good. And I think there were several other people that the money went to, and that everybody had to have their paperwork turned in, so some was a little more, it took a little longer. So we didn't get the money till actually right about May or June is when they called me and said, the money's here, come get it. So we did. So I went back to the original person that gave us an estimate on doing the barn, and I wasted 4 weeks, and they never called me back. And I called and finally got one guy. He said, they'll be there tomorrow to talk to you. And I said, that's what I need. And tomorrow's never come in those eyes. So I said, that's it. So we started over. We got a gentleman, and he gave us an estimate, and that's when the ball got started. So we've been working on this thing for about 6 weeks. And, we really put our nose to the grindstone. But what we done, we got a grant from the state, and it was $200,000. We applied for $250,000, but, you know, it just that didn't happen, but you know, hey, that 200 was, we didn't say, well, we ain't taking that, but you know.
200 more we had.
Yeah, so we got that, and plus, when Mr. Representative Blackwell started, it was like 2020 when we applied, and so all the initial figures and everything started for 2021. So, you know, there have been some cost, you know, inflation is really, so we had our work cut out for us, but anyway, we got started a couple weeks ago, and what we've done is we've covered the arena. And the gentleman that we used was, of all the contractors that's been used, he's the only one that's not in the county. He's just across the county line going down 18, and he's very well known and does excellent work. And I invite all y'all to come look, because I think you'll be very impressed. He does things that other people, I didn't even think of. He said, hey, you want to do this to make this. And so he's done a nice job. He has, we put a new roof on the barn. He said, I'm gonna insulate the roof. Never like that. And so that insulation alone took probably 10 to 12 degrees out of that barn. You could, when he was doing the project, half of it was done. He started over here and he'd cover half of it and just keep working his way. You could actually walk in one end of the barn and go to the other end and just feel a tremendous difference. So that's been a plus. Then the other project, we kept on working. We got fans, so I got several companies to come and talk to me. And believe it or not, some come and they'd look and they just say, to be honest with you, our fan won't do you any good. I appreciate that. So we got a company out of Statesville. They deal with barns and chicken houses, and we got fans. And I was kind of embarrassed when the gentleman come up to give us some estimate to look at our situation. He said, do you know, and we got these 1950 attic fans. I'm just thankful they're gone, because they're open fans, but you know, they're up high or whatever. So he said, you know, you got that one going this way and this one going that way. I said, well, I ain't heard a lot of this, you know, it was already there. So anyway, he come in and got us set up, and so part of them's wired up, and the two that's wired already does excellent. So we've been very fortunate. And then, so the other thing that I kept working on is during the fair, you always have a struggle with strollers. And like I said, I'm on the board in Raleigh, and we talk about it all the time. They say down there that they want strollers because strollers is what, when you have cow droppings in the aisle, if you're not careful, you can get that on the wheel, and that either goes back home or it goes back to a daycare. And the state fair had that incident to happen, and unfortunately, someone did pass away because of that. So, you know, you got little toddlers that wants to see the animals, and then you got, and I feel so bad about it. It's been a bad part, because they want to go in, and then the mamas or daddies have to take them out of the strollers or wheelchairs, and you know, and so it's been a tough thing. We're able to cement all the house. So now you got that major issue out of your hair, and that's just been I can't wait to see what takes place with that. And then, you know, all new lighting, got Baird and Branch local. The lighting is just amazing. So, I mean, they didn't have 3 or 4 yesterday, and I'm just going, wow. So, with those in place, and then we had some struggles. We you know, it hadn't rained in 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever long it was. Then it did rain, and I tell you, when you got rainwater, that you kind of disturbed the ground, or you've got a new roof out there. And that's when I called my best friend, Andy Franklin. Andy, I need help. And he come out, he and his crew, and then they took care of things in a quick manner. So that, we had to build a retaining wall, had to get all the piping, and they done everything. And it's all, and so that put us about, that was about $20,000 that we hadn't planned on spending. But, you know, I spoke with Bill, and Bill said, do it right. So, well, it'll be done right, because Andy does things right. So it's all in place, and, you know, the way the weatherman talks, we might get a good test tomorrow, but I feel confident it's gonna be good. And then, another thing that we had done years ago, or I inherited we inherited it. The fairgrounds paved the asphalt probably in '97, I believe. And the road beside the barn is higher than the foundation, and we've always had an issue with water. A little bit of water will go in these certain stalls, and now it's some of the timbers in there that keeps the stalls, they're rotted, they just fell over, they're just over. So we was able to dig those out, and we cemented that road area. It's about a 4-foot wide area from the road to the barn. It's been cemented, so now the water, it gets away from the barn. So we've had to deal with water, and but we've been fortunate, and I'm glad that we used the people that we used, and the Reese brothers come out and they put the wall in place. They're local, and it's just been everything's really worked well. Now we also have a washing station that we was able to put outside the barn as you go in from the asphalt area that you normally go, and that's where they'll be able to wash the animals. That's an important thing with the animals, and so anyway, we're very fortunate with that, and the whole intent of what's going to happen is we can have more shows, and that's what we're after. Even more shows during the fair. We won't have to have it this year because we didn't know what we was going to have, because all this took place pretty quick and didn't know if it was even going to be finished. So hopefully in the spring we can have some shows, and then even in the fall fair we'll have more shows. So I think that when you come down and get a chance, you're going to really see some good things. And after last year's heat, we definitely I'm looking very forward to it. So if you got any questions on anything, I'll be glad to.
Did you do anything in the exhibit hall?
No,
Not yet.
I haven't got there yet.
Okay. Barn was, okay.
Well, the barn, it wasn't unsafe, but it's
Right.
never been unsafe. But it really needed some structural,
Needs a whole lot
it
of
just
improvement.
needed things, and the water, getting all the water away from it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have garage doors, the doors will be garage doors. And those will be put in, so it's really gonna just take a whole different new look and really be very more user friendly, and things we can use it for.
So the question has come up, that how it was a town, but this wasn't the town, this was the fair board's doings on the barn and stuff, and the grant was through the fair board, so we didn't really have, well, we're invested in it because it's our fair and stuff, but I think we're helping with the water situation a little bit, or is there anything?
Well,
We've discussed some things here and there, and he'll come to me as needed. We've got some money budgeted to take care of
Right.
small minor repairs.
right now, the town hasn't, what might be something, that we got some fencing, I mentioned to you, that we need to have it prepared where they had to take a fence down. That when we get to that point, that might be something,
Okay.
but other than that,
It'll
the
be
rest
case
of
by
it,
case.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be much.
we're here,
It's-
whatever you need,
well-
you know where we're at.
Well, like I say, we've been saving and putting this in place for many, many years. It just didn't happen overnight. And fortunately, we got the money from the state that enabled us to move forward quicker and more than we could ever
Well,
think about.
being able for our police force and all that works there during it. Having that, office thing down there, that was a big plus too.
Well, we just,
That's really a big thing for that.
speaking of the police, they're great to work with, and we got things in a good headed in a good direction.
Yes.
And when we get done with the barn, it's gonna be something that'll take you many years down the road, because it is, it just needed it, and it worked out well that we was able to do what we did, so, we got that done. Another thing, we got a new format this year. We're gonna run open on, the fair always runs Monday to Saturday. This year, we're gonna go to prior Friday and Saturday. The ride companies have a hard time, they can't move every week like they can. If there's an opportunity where they can have 2 weekends at one location, it just makes a lot better on the people, the ride companies. So we're gonna open up on Friday night, which will be carnival style. Everything will be open but the exhibit hall and the barn, and no fireworks. We'll have just like what we do in the spring carnival. We'll be closed on Sunday. That's when we take in our exhibits and booze, those things. And then the fair will actually officially start on Monday. So that's that. And anybody got any? That's about what I have today.
When the fair starts, there'll be fireworks every night, right?
Fireworks every night.
I'm gonna have to take my dog down in the basement or something.
Well,
She goes
we're sorry.
absolutely crazy over in fireworks.
We're sorry. But we just got the books out today. And so there's our new book.
It's beautiful.
Oh, you got the mural on there.
Yeah, we
That's
got,
sharp.
got the new book. So, excited about that. One more thing. Terry?
Terry, can you hear Donnie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you can hear Dennis better. I'll let Dennis. This year,
Uh-oh.
we dedicated the fair to Mr. Terry Young.
It's all dedicated to you, Terry.
Well, I appreciate it.
You'll have to get one of these books and see these pictures they got in there.
I'll drop one by.
Yeah.
Terry's been a member of the fair board for many years, and he was down there after he retired. And I remember talking to Terry, and Terry said that there wasn't many fairs he knew he ever missed, if he missed any. And I think Terry and I probably clock up as many fairs as about anybody. But
Yep.
I want to thank the town for all your help. Roger's been he's located wires, and we've had a few water pipes that we knew they were there, and was able to get those back running and going and no problems. So appreciate all you've done. And anybody got any more questions?
You guys have anything for me?
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Don, appreciate it. Congratulations there, Terry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, approval of several policies needed to comply with AIA grants requirements.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor. I'll briefly go over this. They aren't nearly as exciting as our other agenda items. We have an AIA grant that we're a sub-recipient of this block grant, and it was state. So we as a town, we received American Rescue Plan funds that we had to spend, but also the state received funds from the federal government that they had to spend, and a lot of that was dedicated to block grants that they could send out. We received one of those last fall, if you recall, if you were on the board then. And it's a $380,000 grant. It's fully funded, no match requirement for water and sewer AIA, which is this asset inventory assessment grant. So it's pretty much them looking at, engineers looking at maps and assessing our water lines, age, material type, and they hopefully can bring out some predictive modeling for us. So as we go forward, we can better plan for the future and see what our expenses are going to be as these water lines age. But as part of that, we're required to adopt 6 different policies that are attached in your agenda packet, and we won't go through all of them. They're quite dry. Most of them are just following state law or the specific requirements of the the legislation from the federal government, dealing with conflict of interest, dealing with ethics, dealing with how we bid the projects. If we do, and we're not even doing a construction project, but they still require that we have this in our policy. So all these have been vetted by the School of Government, which is the preeminent location in the state that kind of gave us some guidance on this. And if you recall, I wasn't with Drexel at the time, but I remember when I was in Belmont that it took like 2 years for the federal government to even figure out what they exactly wanted the money to be spent on. So with that, those policies have been sent to you and attached. If you have any questions about any specific policy, I'll do my best to answer it. Otherwise, I would ask for those policies to be approved so that we can get that turned over to the North Carolina State.
Just the first item.
Correct.
Don't include none of the rest of it.
Correct. Just that first item. It's several policies in the one item.
In a one item, okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the service policies needed to comply with the AIE grant?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Scott, second. All right, Tim, will you start us?
Yep, Tim Franklin, aye.
Terry?
Terry, aye.
Alan Reed, aye.
Scott Coe, aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Okay, the next one is the approval of resolution authorizing the sale of surplus personnel property.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the fire chief sent me a memo, which is included in your packet, as well as a resolution to declare their fire trailer as surplus and to offer it up for private sale. So I would let the chief come up and explain why we don't need it and why we're selling it.
It was a utility trailer. It was bought, I think, back in 2010. But it was supposed to be in use for search and rescue and stuff. But as far as to my knowledge, it's 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, it's all been
Deployed maybe 2 or 3 times on an actual call. And right now it's been used for storage and it's taking up room in the parking lot. So a member approached me and wanted to actually buy it for his personal business. And it would actually be more useful to him. It would give us more training room, give us more parking out in front of the base. And so that's why I was asking for a personal sale.
This trailer sits outside the...
Yeah, the trailer outside front of the base, yeah.
Okay.
And it needs repairs. It needs like tires, it needs the roof repaired, so it needs some stuff done to it.
You guys have anything?
Do we need to put that on a bid sheet or?
So since it's a personal sale, you can authorize me to negotiate with a minimum price set at $2,000, and then I would be approved after 10 days to do that. But that you don't by no means have to do that.
Yeah.
It's completely up to you all. If you wanted to put it on a bidding website, we can. It's completely up to the board.
I mean, what's the right thing to do here? I mean, is this okay? I mean.
Yeah, this is okay. I would negotiate the private sale as long as the board's okay with that. Anything under $30,000, that's allowed. But of course, ultimately, it's the board's property. It's the town's property.
Is he gonna give you $30,000?
It would be nice. It would be nice, but yeah, he agreed on the $2,000 price just because of the repairs and everything to it.
And probably what I would do is see if there was any other interest, not just sell it to the first person that wants it, to see if there's any other interest, just to see if there's a better offer before we sold.
Yeah. Not necessarily have bids, but just see if anybody else.
Yeah, to see if there's any. We would certainly take those into account.
Oh, we gonna get no more than
Huh?
that. What
Yeah,
he told
that
us.
trailer's probably bought while you was on, wasn't it?
No, I'd already left
I'm gonna say
right
around
before that.
2010.
Oh, okay.
I could
retired.
be like a year or two off, but
Yeah.
it's got to come that area, yeah.
All right. So, do we have a motion to approve the resolution of authorization the sale of surplus personnel property?
I'll make a motion.
Alan, motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Tim, second. Scott, will you start it off, please?
Scott Coe, aye.
Alan Reed, aye.
Terry?
Terry, aye.
Tim Franklin, aye.
All right, there you go, Mr. Dillon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bill, take care of it.
I'll do my best.
There you go. Okay, approval of fire department procedures.
Yeah, so he just went back down to his seat, but he also sent me some updates needed to be placed in front of the board in the personal procedures manual that was provided in your packet as well.
Yeah, it was just some things need to be taken out and a few words need to be added just to be morally and ethically correct. So it's been like, I think, 10 years since it's been redone, so,
It looks good.
yeah, I
You
appreciate
look
it.
good, I like it.
Yeah, myself and my officers went through it,
Right.
went through every
Yeah.
part of it, and we discussed it.
I do have a question. Now, do you, like the assistant chief, do you appoint them?
Yeah, I appoint all the
And
officers.
then does the guys, does it a vote or is it just something that you?
We used to, the members used to vote on it, but it became like everything else, voting is, it's political.
Yeah, yeah,
And we give that power to the chief just so he can have,
okay.
so he can put who he,
And that goes with any-
basically, it's experience and training is what it comes
Yeah,
down to.
and that goes with lieutenant and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You do all them
Lieutenants, captains,
appointments and
yeah,
stuff,
I'll
right?
appoint all of them.
That's all, okay.
Mhm.
All right, good deal. And is that brought to us or is that just his approval or is it?
It would just be a personnel.
Yeah, it's just
Personnel.
personnel.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, sounds good to me.
But all I needed was your signature, Bill
Yeah.
Carroll's signature, my signature on the,
Yeah, I looked at it and it looked real good. I really liked the way it was. So, all righty, do I have a motion to approve the fire department procedures?
I'll make a motion.
Terry made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Alan, second. Scott, go ahead and.
Scott Coe, aye.
Alan Reed, aye.
Terry?
Terry, on aye.
Tim Franklin, aye.
All right, thank you, fellas.
thank you.
All right, now we're doing department.
Yep.
Okay, departmental reports, financial report.
All right, let me find my page here and get started. All right, so we'll start with the with our budget report, which is in the spreadsheet here. So we'll start with general fund. As you'll see, you've got a list of various revenues and expenses. Our total revenue for the general fund sits at, let's see here, $26,551.39 expenses or revenue, and our total expenses sit at $184,609. Keep in mind the reason our revenue is so low is because our tax bills are just now going out. So once those get out and start coming back, we will start to see that revenue. It'll be a big jump here in the first couple of months, and then it'll kind of, as the year goes on, it'll start to decrease. Moving on to the electric fund, our electric fund total revenue sits at $381,000. Total expenses sits at $141,000. And then the water and sewer fund, total revenue sits at $128,000, and our expenses sit at $89,000. Now on to the bank balance report. General checking, $124,588 was in general checking. Our money market, North Carolina money market account set at $215,000. Money rate savings set at $8,500,000. Money rate savings recreation set at $13,500. And our various fund distributions are listed on the right side of that. That shows where the money is allocated or if it's whether it's restricted or not. And with that, any questions on the finances?
I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about it, Don, we've had that agreement, we had that agreement with him last year, that once he gets the amount from both the carnival and the fair, there's like a 10%, and we've already got that.
Yeah, but that was actually last fiscal year, we
Last
received that
fiscal
portion.
year, yeah, okay. And that all goes to the Auto Huffman Center for Improvements?
Yeah, it goes to the general fund.
Yeah, okay. All right, anybody got anything on that? Okay, what do we have next?
Lisa.
Police Steve, Chief, come on up.
Right, in the month of July, we had a couple of different draws from our number of personnel being July, vacations, our guys deserve and put in for, required, a number of weeks of required military training. But with that in mind, we had 310 calls for service or events, 8 reportable incidents out of those 310 calls, 5 cases closed and 5 arrests made, and 10 traffic citations, one of those being a warning ticket, 3 motor vehicle accidents, and 4 other papers served. sometime between Wednesday, tomorrow, and Friday, I'm gonna get our newest fleet vehicle, the Charger, down to Catawba County to a business to get it decaled and striped. It doesn't have the cage in it yet. After that's done, I'm gonna start trying to set up a date with that company to come down remotely and do that last install of the cage in the back seat. And it'll be ready for active duty, so that's it.
You got everything, I know you're prepping for the fair, you set pretty well what you want on the fair.
Yes, personnel
Good to
wise,
go?
we're good to go.
I figured you was. Thank you, sir. Let's see, fire department, Jonathan, come back up. You're being famous fella.
Month of July, we have 23 total members on our roster. We've had 9 fire calls, 19 medical. Our dispatcher arrivals almost 14 minutes. That's because we had to go to Chesterfield, I think twice. So that's part of the reason why that time's up. But as far as nothing major's happened, no major incidences. No major inside the town anyway, no major damage or anything. But, July 25th, I did get information on the new truck. They have started putting it together, assembling it. Every Thursday or Friday, I do get pictures. So if y'all want to see them, or I can first meeting in September, I can put you a packet together, all the pictures and stuff. That's been sent to.
Will it be here in September?
Should be. Should be first couple weeks in September, I think.
Okay.
Second or third week, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. But it's on track. Yeah.
I see you got a wood fire on here. Can you tell me where that was? Was it?
Cube Drive. Cube Drive. Yeah, it was off of Cube Drive next to Lakeview Acres.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, down that way.
Yeah, it's about an acre fire. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Recreation.
Recreation.
Yeah, so Lisa's on vacation this week, but we've got Zumba Tuesday and Thursday nights, line dancing Tuesday nights, adult softball league for fall Monday and Wednesday nights, adult outdoor soccer league on Saturdays and Sunday at the Huffman Center. Basketball league starts 8-1, Huffman, so just started. Pickleball still Monday and Thursday, 9 to 1 p.m. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday and Wednesday, 6 to 9 p.m. Various birthday parties, other events are set for August. Daycare coming in the center Fridays through the end of this month. They did a back to school drive and have some awesome school supplies at the center. And they've, I guess, set that event for August 17th, 10 to 5 p.m. to give those out. Music on the front lawn and food trucks set for August 31st at the Huffman Center. Flag football, tackle football, volleyball, soccer, and cheerleading signups are going on now. They did some work with the interior of the gym to help some leaking and issues going on in the windows. So they did that. And then they had a senior trip a couple weeks ago, and I've heard that was a large success. And we're still working on getting that play area removed. That's just kind of based on the timing. Our public works team is quite busy this time of year with everything. So
we're gonna be able to do that.
Yeah, we should be able to.
Okay.
Yep. And that is it for recreation.
All righty. Miss Kathy, have you got anything for us before we go any farther?
Grow with Drexel?
Yes.
We just look forward to participating at the Drexel Fair. We have Drexel furniture, chairs for sale, and they're beautiful ornaments made by metalwood. So we just encourage everyone to participate with that. There's a great Google form, very easy. We will make sure you get those ornaments to you. Karaoke night was postponed to September 14th, and so people will be hearing more about that. And so, yeah, we're super excited.
Okay.
Just about
I noticed today we got a new business coming to Drexel.
Yes,
Bakery.
we heard about that too.
Yeah.
So we were just on top
A
of it.
bakery's what I heard coming to Drexel.
Coming
300.
into the hodgepodge
Yeah.
area.
Oh, the bistro.
Yeah, it's gonna have
Bistro
donuts
bakery,
and different things, yeah.
Well, and Nina's gonna open here in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's
they're supposed to open here next couple of
The
weeks.
county was over there today.
Were they? Okay. Okay. And I know they tried to draft me for a Dunkin' booth, and I decided it wasn't a good idea. But Mr. Curl's gonna be in there for an hour one night, so that ought to be
And so will
interesting.
Mike Chandler and myself. But I'm going to rehearse and practice before I go there.
So, there's a lot going, and you're gonna have a booth down there too also, right?
We do.
Yeah, okay. All righty. Ms. Tracy, you're up. Oh, Kevin?
No, Kevin is volunteering for the Dunkin' booth.
No, are you?
Not true.
Right.
Now, he's gonna be the one throwing the balls.
Oh, no.
All right, Ms. Tracy.
Good time to get the code officer. So basically, it's been kind of a quiet month. I've looked at a few subdivisions. I've been talking to realtors a lot because there's some properties up for sale and people were kind of interested in what can they do with these properties and what they can't do with that property. So I spend probably 2 or 3 phone calls a day on that. And then right now, I'm working with the planning board. I think I have in my packet kind of some changes that might be coming up because we're looking at townhomes coming in on Burn Street, and we need to make a few little tweaks to the ordinance to be a little bit more accommodating to the density that they need. And but outside of that, I don't really see a problem. One thing I would like to stress to the board is right now our planning board only meets maybe a couple times a year because it's fairly quiet and there's not a lot of major controversy. But you know, we do have some things coming up. But if there's any vacancies at all, you know, try to reach out and see if we can get some people coming up. And then Mr. Helms, Scott, I think it's Scott Helms. No, it's not Scott Helms. But
Rusty,
yeah, I'm having a hard time getting a hold of him. So we might want to, if you guys know him, reach out to him. He may have retired since, you know, his email keeps coming back because I think it's business email. But outside of that, you know, I'm gonna try and get the planning board together probably next Wednesday, if possible. I think everybody seemed okay with that. And we'll get an agenda out this weekend and start going over some ordinance changes. And we'll bring those to you hopefully in October for a public hearing, and that should be in line with what the developer is needing right now. And there's some additional changes to the ordinance that we're going to talk about too, as time goes. Just kind of cleaning up some procedures and cleaning up our use chart a little bit. But,
Okay, I don't know if it affects you or not, but I understand that the service station deal is about to be, what, middle of August? We'll have an owner down there. Do you know, Kathy, is that right?
I've heard
You
that.
know?
oh,
That's a rumor.
you're talking about
That's a rumor.
Mr. Harmon?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Possibly Mr. Harmon will be able to.
Yeah,
okay.
he's gone through he had to do a phase 2 environmental study to figure out where a drain went, pretty much. So he put some time and money and effort into the project. So.
Okay, so hopefully it'll be coming through then. Okay.
So I went to the property, I think it's on Fletcher Street in Morganton, where they're building the townhomes for the developer that's looking at this, and it looks pretty nice. So
Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, they're gonna be 11 townhouses is what they're talking about?
11 to 12. One's going to be a single level.
Okay.
For a, disabled handicap person.
Handicap.
Yeah, and they had started a couple of those at the other site, so they're having to do several there. But anyway,
Guys, you have anything?
I grew up near there.
Huh?
I grew up near there. Wasn't nothing when I grew up. Wasn't trailer park.
Okay, Mr. Kevin?
Trailer park.
Yeah. My mother-in-law lives right there beside of it.
Really? Yeah.
Southern.
Where's
Yeah, the house right beside there.
the Fletcher Street?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Floyd Southern.
I think I know her.
Okay, sir.
No problem. Month of July, most of this stuff here is gonna be, funny as it is, but the dryness has actually caused us to have a lot of moisture coming in. So with the rains that have got here, we've got more of the overgrowth than you do the junk vehicles or the trash and the things. Teresa had alluded us to an apartment here on Park Avenue. There's gonna be some issues coming up. We're going to paperwork out on it. So due time, there's a meeting coming up the 12th to hopefully meet with the owners, which is based out of Charlotte, if they make it. But you still have your photos of those?
Yeah, I do.
So there's some leaking water issues coming from above to the below. There's some outside structural damage that's going to continue to cause leaking from that facility. So we'll see what's going to unfold with that here shortly. But you can see through the report here, a few things have been taken care of, mostly the overgrowth.
Yep.
And the one vehicle, I'm sure I'll get a phone call about it, that it's probably not junk in his eyes, but we'll see what happens when this 2 weeks goes by.
Okay. You have anything?
The house sitting on the corner of the property over here.
He and I talked about
Yeah,
that coming in today.
Yep, so it's a slow process. We'll have to get Mr. Wilcox involved and begin to see what else we can do to get this, hopefully, not on record, but hopefully it'll get demolished. That's kind of the goal. It's slow, it doesn't happen fast, unfortunately.
Somebody's still going over there feeding the cats. I mean, I'm glad they're not letting them starve to death.
Yeah.
There's still a bunch of cats.
Most of the windows are busted out, and the doors, it's, yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, I just wondered if that was.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the department. Mr. Wilcox, you have anything for us tonight?
Not really, but it sounds like we're gonna have something coming up.
Okay, sounds good,
I
sounds
think
good.
everything's going well.
There you go, okay. Okay, manager's report.
Yeah, so go over just a couple of important dates and events going on. So we need to schedule a special meeting to discuss our audit findings. We weren't really in time to get it done at this meeting. Our auditor was not, but I'd like to go ahead and get that knocked out so we can wrap it up. So if y'all have, it doesn't have to be at 6, it can be at 4 or whatever time is convenient over the next couple weeks. Anything except for I think next Tuesday, which our auditor would not be available. I'd like to kind of maybe jot that down, put that on the calendar, so we can get that scheduled.
I'm open all next week.
All next week open?
All next week?
What time would be preferable? Afternoon, evening?
Probably after 5, Leonard Scott.
Yeah, after 5 works well.
Like 5:30, would that work for you?
5:30 is perfect, yes.
Okay. What about next Wednesday at 5:30?
The 14th.
Yep. That work for everyone?
Yeah.
Terry, you good with the 14th?
Yeah, I'll be good with that.
Okay.
And that'll be here.
Okay.
And we'll work with the clerk and make sure we get our notices and everything out, so.
Okay.
All right, and the other thing I wanted to talk about was I met with Drexel representatives, and I've talked to the mayor about it, and I put it in one of your weekly updates about potentially having a Christmas event committee. We had a little event in downtown last year that Drexel held. I think I'd really like the town to be more involved and be able to do some events downtown for something. Don't know the exact scope yet, and that's why I kind of want to put a team together to see what we'd like to do for Christmas this year. So with that, I was going to ask if the mayor or one of the board members would like to volunteer to join that. I plan on making it a regular meeting, along with myself, a couple other staff members from the town, as well as some Drexel representatives, so we can meet and discuss some ideas for a Christmas event this year.
Okay. Guys, I'd like for one of y'all to take it and do that if you will, instead of me to do it. But I've been, I've got a few other things going on with the COG and different things. Can anybody do that? And Bill will set up the meetings to where it would do.
I can do it.
Alan?
Yes, since my schedule's packed, I can do it.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Alan.
That retirement pay. Yeah. All right, so Alan will be out.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Alan, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right, and the Drexel Fair obviously is August 16th through the 24th, and like was mentioned earlier, rumor has it I might be in the Duncan booth maybe, the second Friday, if you're interested. And then offices will be closed on September 2nd for Labor Day. Our next regular meeting is September 3rd at 6 p.m. And then as a reminder, I've emailed you this. This is for the board, not for the public, but the the COG is having their policy board meeting, which they have every other month, will be hosted by Drexel, September 24th at 6 p.m. So if all of y'all are able to make it that evening, it'd be a good time to make it. Dinner will be provided. It'll be at the
R. Huffman Center.
Okay.
And
What's the date?
23rd?
September 24th. It's that
24th.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
Tuesday night. And they'll feed you. They feed us well. And Nina's is gonna be the one catering.
Yep.
So we're gonna have Nina's catering that night. So y'all are invited. So you can come on.
Yep.
So this will be the first time I think we've ever hosted this. And it's a good thing to do. And, you know, we got things going on down at the center and we're gonna be able, we're making improvements and stuff. So it'll be a good thing for us to show it off a little bit.
6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 p.m. on the 24th.
Yep. All right, and that is all I have for the manager's report.
Okay, so we are going into closed session, correct?
Yeah, we do have a scheduled closed session to discuss a small personnel issue, and then a second to discuss attorney-client privilege information.
Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Alan, start us off.
The vote.
We're voting for a closed session.
Okay. Alan Reed, aye. Is that what you're saying?
Scott Coe, aye. Terry, you good for it?
Tim Franklin, aye.
Okay, we're good. Thank you, folks. We appreciate everybody.
Anything else you want to talk to the board? No, I just want to say thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir. I'm all right.
Give me the orange piece of candy. Thanks, y'all.
You might have done a presentation here, didn't you? Not me. No, somebody did. Renewable. No. This is exciting. Great. Yes, sir, likewise. Thank you.
Good to see you, thank you.
September 24th. I'm gonna get that on the calendar some Sam.
24th at 6.
Yeah, dinner's provided first, and then after that, they have their meeting, so you all wouldn't need to stay for the meeting unless you're just really interested in what's going on.
Okay.
But you could at least have the dinner. It's good to be representative, show the COG that, you know, our board is supporting the unit, and the mayor has to be there, he's part of the board. But, it's a good thing, and I think it's good to represent Drexel well.
You got the live stream on?
No, not yet. That's a good point, thank you.
Closed session, live stream. I'm gonna run the restroom real quick.
Yeah, you're good.